So we're on the final. We're in the final stretch here. So I actually already have. I already have one of these assembled, done, finished. I just have to put it in. I did that one first because I wanted to make sure it was going to go a little bit more smoothly, or it was going to go a little smoother than I hoped it would. So I actually forget where I left off, but you know, everything's in here. Now, the next thing I have to do with it, or the final stages of assembly for these, are to stuff the boxes. Now, the Avia Trix kit came with this acoustic stuffing, but these are for those 1 liter boxes. They're not for these 2.5 cubic foot boxes. So what I did was I went to Joanne or Michael's or wherever it was, I forget, and I bought some more stuffing so I can completely pack these boxes with foam. I want the boxes to kind of be stuffed tight. I don't know why, but I do. You're supposed to spray adhesive on the inside of these things. You're supposed to spray adhesive on the inside to get the foam to stick. I don't want to do that because I may have to take these boxes back apart. That's another thing. After all of this work, I may actually rebuild these completely. I might do this. I may start this project over from scratch again. I'm going to reuse the components that I have, but there's a distinct possibility that when I put these in the final position that I'm not going to like them, and then they're going to get shit canned. So yeah, I'm just stuffing these boxes full of this is just polyfill, right? Now this is just literally what do you call it? Yeah, this is stuffing. You know, it's for pillows or whatever. You know, plush toys. Yeah, well, that's what this is, and I don't like. So a lot of people use fiberglass for this project, for this part of the project. Fuck fiberglass. I'm not using fiberglass. Now it's interesting. So outwardly, this stuff looks exactly the same as this stuff, but according to the marketing material that came with it, that this is a different product. It's still polyester, but the again, marketing calls this Acoustic Stuff nylon fiber by Mahogany Sound. I don't know. I'm sure some crazy speaker audiophile nut somewhere will tell you that it's different than this stuff. Outwardly, it does look different a little bit. This looks more dense, which, you know, whatever. So I've done a good bit of. I've been doing a shit ton of reading on speakers, and it seems to me like the only people that are bigger, you know, there's no straight fucking answer for speakers apparently, because yeah, there's no straight. I can't seem to find a straight answer for speakers. There's a lot of technical data that just doesn't make. I don't want to say doesn't make any sense to me, because it does, but it's just like I don't know. I'm deaf. As long as these things don't sound too shitty and bassy, I think we'll be good to go. I may, so yeah, back to what I was just talking about is, I may actually redo these. I'm not crazy about them. There's a lot of aspects of this project that I'm just not super duper crazy about. So that's that. Mainly it's the shape and the size of these boxes. These are exponentially larger than they need to be, and they're exponentially larger than I wanted them to be. I literally am thinking that I'm going to take, I I'm going to go get some new wood, and I'm going to build these still as a triangle, but I'm going to move the tweeter to the center, move this woofer down a little bit, and make the box only this wide. I think. I don't know. If these looks and if these sound fine, if they look good where they're sitting. These were kind of built as furniture, so we'll go from there. So let's put this shit together. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So I'm actually not going to use this gasket, I don't think. This has a nice gasket with it already, so. Red is positive. This is the tweeter side here. Oh, I forgot. 24 hours later, the monocoat is hard. This was one of the rags I used to wipe it off with, and it got hard. And it feels nice. It has a nice feel to it. The shop, I screwed up last night, and I left my fans running in the shop here. I left my fans running in the shop, and I created a bit of a humidity problem. That's what I get for running my mouth and not paying attention to what the fuck I was supposed to be doing. I apparently buried my negative. Stuffed my negative into the box here when I didn't really want to do that. What's this? Don't tug on that, you don't know what it's attached to. Oh, there we go. So I'm going to put tweeters in first. I said this is as stuffed as I can get it. I'm not buying any more stuffing. I mentioned several different times in here. If I have to make the boxes smaller, there's two ways I can do it. One is to make a plug for the bottom, for the inside. I can make a plug and make the box, the internal volume of the box, I can end it right about there. Which will bring me closer to the parameters of the original design. And then the other, like the other part of this is I can just say hell with it, and I'm going to rebuild the entire enclosure. That's not off the table just yet, which it actually, like I said, that's not off the table. I may jump down that. I may jump down that path. I'm not sure. I may jump down that path. We'll see how these sound. We'll see how they fit in the house, and then I'll make that decision. All right. Shit. I thought I had everything I needed over here, but I don't. So I'm going to. I very carefully when I did these originally, I made sure that not only did I drill the holes right, I ran screws through them to make sure they were okay, that everything was going to fit. And again, ironically, that was it wasn't a waste because it did work, but yeah, whatever. I am slightly worried that these are not, that these are 6 ohm impedance. I'm a little concerned about them. So I'm just gonna stick that on there. Red is positive, which is nice for them to mark because it's the only mark on it is that little red line. Stuff our wires in. Why the fuck don't the holes line up? They kind of line up. They don't line up perfectly. They lined up perfectly when I put them in the first time. Well, I always have one that doesn't line up. Oy, oy, oy. I mean, it lines up good enough. Yeah, this is, you want to catch me on camera doing something dumb, well, here's your chance. I don't recommend using a power screwdriver for this, but also I just ran them the vast majority of the way in with a screwdriver, and then I'll finish them by hand. Oh, so these are number 8 countersunk screws. And then we'll tighten them up by hand. Of course, they're sitting a little proud because why not? Nobody will notice that but me, but my preference would be for these to sit perfectly flush like these are. You can't really tell, but I can tell. I know it's like that. So, next step. I already pre-trimmed this one. So what I ended up having to do with these, is I had to cut the inside out, and then I had to trim the speakers themselves. It pained me to have to cut these speakers, but the truth of the matter is they're cheap speakers, so I'm not overly bent out of shape about it. I got the holes to line up relatively close to where they need to be, and I cut the ring. I cut it wide enough so that it clears this that little bump in there. So let's plug our speakers in. Now I actually put the other speaker together last night, and the paint was wet, so well, that was another thing. I repainted the rings with what I had laying around, which is glossy Rust-Oleum. I hate Rust-Oleum, but in this particular instance, that's all I had laying around. Also, my initial assembly, while I was initially assembling them, they fought me the entire way, and it was infuriating. The other thing that's infuriating to me is that these are not Phillips. These are these damn square drives. I'm not a huge fan of square drive. Just not. But that's all they had at Woodcraft that was black number 8 1.25" screws. So that's what I got stuck with. Ironically enough, the shitty undersized grates actually came with hardware. I don't like the hardware, but I could have used that hardware. I didn't actually need to go buy screws. But I still say that this kit should have come with the screws and the spade connectors to assemble them. That's just my observation. Just one of my observations. It looks like it's going to fight with me too. This is not ideal. I don't like this at all, actually. It really pisses me off because I went out of my way to make sure that these all lined up and were nice. And here I am putting shit in crooked because of something that really, I don't want to say it wasn't my fault, but it really wasn't my fault. This wobbly like this, it's a recipe for disaster. So, long story, because I like to tell long stories while I'm building stuff. Years and years and years and years and years and years ago, when I was a wee lad, when I got my first car, it was a MG. It didn't have a stereo. It didn't have a functional radio in it when I bought it. Well, I should say when my parents bought it for me. So I ran out and I bought a stereo for it. And if you know anything about British cars, it was a pain in the ass to get the stereo in and working. But at the time, you know, when I was 16 years old, I spent some good money on the stereo. Of course, you know, why spend money on car insurance and the hole in the floor when I need a stereo, right? So, when I got my second car, I wanted to put that stereo in my new car, which was actually a new car. It was a 1989 Isuzu Pup pickup truck, 4x4. It was a really nice truck. I don't want to say I wish I still had it because it would be 40 years old now, but I wish I hadn't gotten drunk and wrapped around the fucking bridge abutment. So I'm like, oh, I want to put my new stereo for my MG into my new truck, because it was a pretty decent stereo. It was a Clarion, an equalizer, and speakers, all kinds of shit. So when I went to go put the speakers in the truck, they didn't fit, right? Metric system. So I ended up having to cut the speakers, cut the truck to get them to go in. And I was using a screwdriver to put the speakers in, and immediately, because at the time I didn't know, you know, when you're 17 years old or 18 years old, you don't know unless somebody tells you that Phillips screws aren't all the same. There's posi drives, there's different sizes, there's blah, blah, blah. And then the physical screwdriver itself can be worn out and beat up. So I ended up putting a fucking screwdriver right through my brand new speaker. And it was not a good day. Okay, now that one's done. We're 4 screws away from being finished, but we're actually not 4 screws away from being finished. Let's see here. I need 4 more screws. I just thought I think it's prudent to show Okay, so I think it's prudent to show what I had to do to get these to go in. So in one of my other videos, I took my nibbler and I hogged these out. I think I'm being redundant right now, but it doesn't matter. And then I took my die grinder and I ground it out, and then I just took a grinder and deburred everything, and then I threw that coat of Rust-Oleum on it. You know, that's what I had laying around. 24 hours later, the things are still sticky, but that doesn't hurt my feelings a whole lot. So, what is the problem with these? So these are the speakers. These are actually cheap. These are only like 30 or 40 bucks a piece. This is what came with the kit. It came with an extra gasket, which I'm not actually going to use because there's already a gasket on here. If I need to use the gasket, I can always put the gasket in. So this is the problem. So this is the problem, right? The other problem is that they didn't fit around that, for the sake of argument, I'll call it, I guess, a rebate. I don't know, there's another word for that. So what I did, and this is cringe 10, this is like super duper cringe factor here. Grab these aviator snips. They cut both ways. There's 3 different aviator snips in a package. There's a green one, there's a red one, and then there's a yellow one. The green one cuts one way, the red one cuts one cuts right, one cuts left, one cuts straight. You cannot make them do what they're not designed to do. If you try to cut the wrong way with the wrong one, it won't work. It'll fight you the whole time. That's another one of those things that you don't know when you're 16 years old. So I need to cut this ear off of here. I don't like doing this at all. This is not something that I wanted to do, but to make it work the way it needs to work in my mind, that needs to go away. And they need to be cut down to 5, or actual 5 1/4. They're not 5 1/4 speakers. And Parts Express, their answer is, well, you should have read the directions. Well, my answer is, well, you should have fucking included them in the kit. Or you should have not even included them in the kit, but it's not Parts Express fault. It's my fault. I should have known better. So that's the whole story with the speakers. Every time I've put a set of speakers in something and I wanted to put grates over it, unless the grates came with those speakers, they don't fit ever. The other thing I'm doing is I'm putting these together like this. So when I take these back apart, I'm 98% sure I'm going to have to take these things back apart, that I can access the spade clips from the front side here. Because sometimes when you get to take these apart, you have to put a screwdriver in there. Oh, that's great. Just bend the shit out of that thing. Okay. Now we're going to stick the speaker in the hole. I have the most peculiar feeling that this shit is going to rattle. Yeah, like I said, I had already pre-drilled and for the sake of argument, tapped these holes. Even though they're wood screws, it's a good idea, especially for something that you're going to do a final assembly on, to run a couple screws in there first. I cover that in another video. Or I already covered that in a video. I'm redundant. This video series has gotten so overblown and so long that nobody's going to watch it, just like the rest of my videos. Now, I shouldn't say that. All my videos get at least one watch because I get friends that like to laugh at me. They're friends if they're not laughing at you, right? That just makes no fucking sense. So the moral of my story is, be careful with screwdrivers around speakers, because it really can and will and does ruin your day. Okay, so that's the one that wants to ruin my day right there. You can see how crooked that thing's going in. That's the one we're going to run in first. So I am being as careful as I possibly can with these. There is a little flex. These square heads cam out of the holes. No matter what square bit I use, they always cam out of the holes. This is another thing. If you don't have one of these, I don't know who else sells them. I got this from Snap-on, but this screwdriver is one of the best for this type of shit. Well, there's my grate. It fits. That's it. Done. Done and done. So here's that monocoat again. This was some that was left over. This was some that was left over in the thing. That shit is... If that was linseed oil, it would take 2 weeks for that to do that, if not longer. And, you know, there we go. We're hard. It's just really cool. I really like that stuff. Well, there you go. Done and done. I'm not crazy about them. They're way bigger than I wanted them to be. They're physically way larger than I wanted them to be. Like 2 to 3 times bigger than I wanted them. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see, you know, if they sound okay, if they sound good, then we're going to live with them. If they sound like shit, then we're going to try to make the boxes internally smaller. If they take up too much space, I'm not married to these things. I'll go and get some more wood and I'll make new cabinets. It's not like... So, cabinet-wise, you know, other than the time, which I have a significant amount of time in these, if you've watched my video, you know how much time I have in these. Materials-wise, we're kind of it's negligible. So I have to get the wood itself. I can use for other projects. I could just chop them up and reuse them for something else. The other thing I can do is cut them. I can cut them apart. Take the speakers out, obviously. Take the speakers out. Take the crossover out and cut them down. I don't really want to do that, but if I have to, I can. Let's go put them in place.